Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for June 15th, 2016. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. Right now we've seen a steady continuation to the downside. We were looking for a move into 2052 quarters, and we got very close, getting to a low about these 55s here, 54.75. So we got within a couple of points, 2.5 points of reaching that level, and we've seen a bounce off that zone right now. The early idea here is that any pullback is still likely a selling opportunity for a move across the range. This was the first area, the composite VPOC to watch for a test. We also have the MC VPOC, which is 2042, and then the bottom down here, which is VAL on a micro composite basis. So that's the bottom of value. So coming from above value here, back toward value, the mission is not done, so we could see more weakness. However, given the early strength we're seeing in the test beyond the previous highs here, there could be a little bit more of a test up here, but any rejection, even as high as these 2079s, 2080s, that could be an area to defend and see another move across the range here. So something to look out for. We've started the week with some weakness after last week's sell-off through the previous week's high. That's exactly what we're looking for. We were looking for pullbacks to be defended, and now we're looking for more of the same. So this could be short-term strength here that leads to another round of weakness unless bulls can reclaim prices back above 2080. Here is a look at crude oil. Crude oil has been perfect as well. We noticed that the LVN at 51.65 was likely going to be significant. We talked about that well before the the event even happened. So we were looking at that back around here when we saw the contract rollover coming, and we did the contract rollover. We saw the CLVN. We noticed that that could be a great sell back to, on a first test basis, the previous high, and then the major target was going to be between 49.10 and 49.36. Prices have since continued to push through that zone. Now, instead of finding where the low could be, we're just watching and waiting for prices to show signs of rejection. As of right now, 47.22, 47.61, that zone shows a very nice LVN. Very important key levels there that the bulls want to defend for a rotation back to 49.36 and perhaps to new highs. Failure to hold above 47.22 would open up a return back to the next HVN below, which is 44.72. So this zone is going to be very important. I've noticed before, and we've talked about this, how price hasn't just turned around and rallied. It's tested levels for several days, 3-4 days before we've seen any bounce. So this could be a zone where we see continued defense of this area before we actually do see a bounce, unless there's a violation, in which case we see a clean push back toward 44.72. So this is the area to continue to watch for bulls to defend for a rotation back up. Failure to do so opens the path back toward 44s. Here's a look at gold futures. Gold has been very bullish, continued to push higher off our 1208s. We were looking for a move back towards 68 to 75. We got it. The next push up takes us to 88s, 99s, and 1308s. So we've seen a nice push, and the expectation was if the market's going to turn down, gold is going to turn up, and we've seen gold just rally ahead of the curve here before anything else, which was very nice. Now we have to see how's price going to respond up in these areas, because this is where traditionally, at least over the last few months, price has seen overvalued situations that has led to returns back toward the 1230s. So right now, early on, we've seen a nice continuation to the upside. First pullback will likely be at least an opportunity to defend for a shot at squeezing, but failure to hold this 1269 half could open up a move back toward value, so keep an eye on that level. Lastly, let's take a look here at the NQ. In the NQ, we were looking for a rejection off of these highs and off the previous month's high for a push downward against the range. We marked two levels that we could see a test at, the first one being the LVN, the second one being this HVN, and the top of the previous range here. That was the primary idea. Remember, when I mentioned that this was narrow, we could see a push up. Once we find rejection, we could see a move right against the range, at which point we see some sort of trading range develop. So right now we're seeing sort of that build out right now, especially off the bounce here. The big level is going to be at 44.34, 44.35. Acceptance above that level will open up a move back toward 44.86 and perhaps back up to highs as this thing develops. And so that's what I'll be watching for. That's the early idea. Failure to hold above the 4400s, 43.89 opens up a move back across the range. But right now, the expectation is for an attempt to fill in this imbalance right here, this portion of the profile. So a little bit more strength could be seen ahead, especially if prices can climb back above 44.34. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this thing plays out heading into the rest of the day. One last thing, we do have FOMC later on today. It could be a little bit of early activity ahead of that event, and then we quiet down as the news approaches. Once we do see the event, look to mark the price point right at the 1 p.m. Central Time. So right at 1 p.m. Central, when that announcement comes out, note the time, note the price point, and keep it on there as a key level because it will become an important price point for the next several weeks. Additionally, the key range that comes off of that level will be very important and will help us play the moves over the coming session. So keep an eye on that as it happens later on this afternoon. All right, good luck and trade well.